Welcome back to Starseed Essence Between Worlds, where I explore consciousness, cosmic truth, and deeper layers of who we are. Today's host is Rebecca Rose. She is an intuitive channel guide for those who are exploring their multidimensional nature of the universe. And she's known for her light language, the cosmic quantum healing, Akashic readings, and she has an amazing website. I'd love to reference to that. It is going to be linked below this conversation, which I hope it records. We did have a little bit of technical difficulties here, but that's all a part of it all. She describes herself as a heart seer and an alchemist, guiding people back to their inner wisdom. And for me personally, I love Rebecca's. I did reach out to her, and we did a session together, and I had something amazing happen. We'll talk about it later on, the night after our session. And I also had similar something. The moment, like within 24 hours of us booking this conversation, like talking about, hey, we're going to do this. That same night, I also had something happen, which was really weird. And we'll talk about that later. Rebecca, welcome to Starseed Essence. I'm so glad to have you here.
Eva, thank you for the introduction. It's really good to be here. I really appreciate you. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to start at the beginning of your story here. When did you start remembering these other realities, or did you come in knowing what has triggered this path for you?
Yeah, that's a big one. It's a good one too. I think, in childhood, as many of us as star-seeded ones, we remember certain things from before we incarnated here on this earth, right? I know that I had some of that, but it was shut down, as it is for many of us. I had a challenging family upbringing, to say the least, and then I kind of went and did kind of I won't say conventional things, but as a studio artist, a full-time professional painter and a sculptor for many years, 2.5 decades of that. And I started meditating around I think age 40. And that's when things really started to change. To get right to the heart of the matter, I think that is what caused my psychic abilities to open and to have more, when we sit in stillness with our minds, everything in us, in the subconscious and even deeper into the unconscious, begins to unfold for us. So I started to have memories of the space programs and other incarnations not on this world, and interactions with beings who are not of this world. And all of that began to unfold. And that led me very naturally into the work that I do now, like your session and reading the Akashic Records and doing quantum healing sessions, becoming a healer. That all kind of came through very organically and naturally for me. It was never a path I was seeking, but it did seek me. I responded with a tentative yes at first and then a vigorous yes. So here we are. Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you ever experience any kind of like near death experience?
I
Like
would say
anything?
so. Yes, it's a few things happened. I had some objections and some extreme abuse in early life that brought me close to death on more than one occasion. So there's childhood experiences, and also part of what caused my memory retrieval, the secret space program memories to come back was after I had a head injury. I was hit by a car on my bike back in 2012 in northern New Mexico, not too far from the Dulce base, where I was also used in my abductions early on in my very early years. But to the point of the near death, I had quite a head injury from that. And I don't know if something happened to me as well, where I was bleeding on the roadside for a long time before anybody found me. It was a remote area before the EMT people could find me. And I feel like I might have crossed beyond at that point and come back, because it
Yeah.
really changed my life indelibly. But you've had I think a NDE as well.
Yeah, I did when I was 3. And
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't go anywhere. I just kind of realized the field of consciousness was me, basically.
Mhm.
Now as my adult brain remembers, I
Yeah.
basically just fractalized into everything is the way I described it. And it was only just for a glimpse of that. It was just a tiny glimpse of that, but enough to imprint on me for all of my life. So
Well, and
me,
then it's not the thing that it only takes a moment to see
it
beyond the
does.
veil, and then we don't forget it. Like, well,
Mhm.
in your case, at least you did not forget it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting how I do hear a lot of people that have had those near death experiences, it kind of opens them up in some way, or they they start to remember, hey, I'm a part of a collective. I'm not just one soul, which I did want to bring up some of that too with the oversouls and the monadic source of everything. As you mentioned just a few minutes ago, you've spoke about experiences that include military abductions and off-world involvement. How did that shape your path in life, being involved in those off-world experiences and seeing this stuff? And just to kind of explain that a little bit deeper. That
Yeah,
was
well, there's a lot to that. We could do several we could be talking for hours on that question alone. And I know you know that. It's big. So, I was carrying a lot of trauma, huge trauma burden for my whole life, until that benchmark when I began to meditate, and that was really the beginning of a healing path for me. I had extreme PTSD and panic attacks and all these things within which I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't have all the memory, and I didn't have my belief system was not aligned with things like ETs and UFOs and space programs and all these things. So I couldn't really integrate what I knew and what I knew both consciously and unconsciously. My father worked for the deep state. He was involved with military intelligence, had a very high level clearance, was a aeronautical engineer and a variety of other things. Worked with the CIA and NASA within that context. So I wasn't able to put two and two together for many years. I didn't know
yeah,
what his involvement was, but he was a link to all those abductions, and I think he was also taken and mind controlled and manipulated himself early on. So there's a big web of story connected to all that with my family, extended family, and so on. Um, but in the years now since I've been, had a lot of memory come back about those programs and some are very shocking. I've made a tremendous recovery of my life. I think maybe that's the point that I want to make most of all is that
yeah,
me actually turning toward those experiences when I really had no frame of reference for such things at all was shocking, caused a lot of
mhm,
cognitive dissonance.
yeah,
But it's really allowed me to re-engage with my life and to thrive in ways that I hadn't really had access to in a consistent way before that. So to me, the proof is in that what we say, the proverbial pudding, in that my life
yeah,
is really transformed for the better for having gone through that. So, um,
yeah,
yeah, it's really shifted everything. And I would say it can be a lonely road. You may have people in your audience who don't know anything about that, and maybe people who do know very much about the space programs and the kind of deviant underworld of society and these things and
yeah,
the agendas behind it all. But it can be. I think during the time when I was going back through so much memory retrieval, around the time of my father's death was when a lot of this was starting to come up. Once, and in my experience, once a handler or a perpetrator dies or is dying, that's when it becomes safe to retrieve the memories. It's like, oh, now I can learn what's really in me. It's safe to know the truth. So that was it was a trying time and an isolating time for me, or
you're gonna hear
isolated.
you're about to hear a helicopter fly. I've been having these huge, like, military helicopters fly over, but there are fires in Georgia right now, so
Okay. Yeah.
oh, I think it's about to fly over, but they're dipping into the river with these buckets, and there's
Oh,
this
yeah.
huge. You hear it? Can you hear it? It's about to fly. It's so loud to me.
Yeah, it
Yes,
doesn't transmit in the audio.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's shake. It's like they're huge. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's a no problem. We can't hear it I can't hear it on this end. So,
Okay.
yeah.
You talked about some trauma-based mind control. Did you experience that when you were little? Like, the memories that you've recovered? Is it something that did you know as that was going on when you were little? Did you know, "Hey, there's something happening here," or you kind of remembered it later in life, your childhood, like, "Hey, there's something to what was that?" Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of that was so traumatic for me that it kind of got put in a vault in my psyche. And that's what we do with intensely traumatic memories is to survive the fragments and we don't have all the pieces to it. It ends up breaking apart. And I had pieces of it. but I didn't have the whole thing, and frankly, I didn't wanna remember anything traumatic that had
Yeah.
happened. I mean, it didn't, like it wasn't helpful at the time to my life to go into that.
Yeah.
Within the context of meditation and stillness and becoming more rooted and grounded, I was able to look at all of that. And a lot of memory came back and a lot of so trauma-based mind control. There was things going on in the extended family that would have fit the bill of that. One of those is I delved more deeply into my experiences being trafficked into child pornography by my godfather, who was also working side by side with my father in the deep state with a high clearance and military intelligence. So that itself was a kind of trauma-based mind control to fracture the psyche of the child and to
Mhm.
become compliant and to create parts within the child's mind to later on then be it was sort of a grooming process to then
Mhm.
be taken into the SSP for like a long 20 and back. And I was age 9, this fall of 1982 before I turned 10. That's really when I was, everything had been set in place for me to then be abducted to underground base north of Chicago, Great Lakes Naval Station, and then through Junkie to Mars. So, and there was trauma-based mind control at, you know, that that naval station in a underground military
That's
base.
yeah,
So we're touching on a lot of themes. Is this making sense? Are we? Am I?
yeah, yeah,
These are big questions. So I just want to make sure they're making sense to the audience as you
yes,
understand it.
yeah. Well, so the reason why I'm asking is because you hear a lot about extraterrestrials, but a lot of people are not talking about ultra-terrestrials.
Mhm.
Ultra-terrestrials and what ultra-terrestrial is.
What is it in your mind? What is an ultra-terrestrial?
In my mind, it's something to do with the way that our military has used the MK Ultra to create the ultra-terrestrial by,
Mm.
thinking their narrative is let's create this fragmentation, and it creates this ultra-terrestrial being that can fight these battles for us interdimensionally. I know it sounds
Oh, I see what
absolutely
you're saying. So is it a human that has been weaponized in some way, or is it?
yeah,
Is
like,
it
or either we'll say not like tinkered with, but
mhm,
programmed,
mhm.
um, via the MK Ultra program in some way. Um, because recently what's on, some everybody's mind right now, not everybody, but a lot of people are with the scientists that have been gone missing, and what's been going on with them too. There are these some brilliant minds, but they had a lot came with that too. I thinking about, I won't name drop, but, the recent passing of, David Wilcock. Do we There's so much conspiracy around that, but,
There's so much
um,
conspiracy on that. Yeah. Mhm.
but also all the scientists that have recently disappeared. There's 11, now 12 or 13 scientists that were like studying the UFOs and just different types of technology. For some reason, I just wanted to tap base on what an ultra terrestrial is. I have that in my side notes to ask you about, like, what you think. What do you think it is? Like, are we creating
Eva,
ultra?
that I would say I haven't actually heard that term used before, so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I can speak to, from my experience in the SSP, I could speak to transhumanism and the weaponization of our humanity to create a totally controllable slaveries. I don't know if that's what you're getting at with that term.
Yeah, more
Yeah,
more of
there's a lot
like,
to.
few people that have a lot of people are targeted, but, with the MK, the people that have had the experiences, um, with MK Ultra. It's interesting to know that some people had these experiences, and it's for me, it kind of tugs at my heart a little bit because you're taking these small children and you're doing this to them and to their psyche to fragment them for your benefit.
Yeah.
And that is, are we all being done like that? I mean, I don't know as far as it being
So
slavery.
let me speak to the piece about because your audience might be saying, "Well, why children? Why do that to a child? That's horrible. Like
Yeah,
to say the least, that's horrible. Why would you do that to a kid?" It's because children are the most malleable, and when you get to them young, you set those programs up in the mind, and you have control of them for life. Sure, you can target people later in life, and they do. I feel like my father was mind controlled in some ways through the auspices of his work with the deep state. I don't think he was clear of that. but it's there's a reason why children's innocence is preyed upon. There's such a life force energy inside of us when we first come in, and we have all those star memories,
Mhm.
and we have so much joy inside of us. And if you can
Mhm.
get to somebody sooner than later, to the dark minds behind this and the dark structure inside of it all, that's to their advantage. But just to
I
like
know.
kind of address that right off the bat.
Whenever I lived in Hawaii on the army base as a child, I'm talking about I was little, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's when we moved back away from Hawaii when I was 6. But 3, 4, 5, and 6. Every single night, I tried to tell my mom and dad about if they could have brushed it off, but I was being tormented enough to where now I don't experience all of it stopped when I moved away from Hawaii, or most of it. Well, not all of it. But this part where I could hear them audibly come, I would be falling asleep in between half asleep, half awake. "Don't fall asleep." I would hear it in my ear. "Don't fall asleep. We're gonna get you. We're gonna get you. Don't fall asleep." And until just basically making it where I couldn't fall asleep because don't fall asleep. And I wondered if that was because we lived on the army base. I wondered
And
if
you're on a
that
base,
was
so
like
immediately yeah.
my disco type thing. As a child, they were doing that to not just me, they were doing it to my sister and brother. We all had our personal experiences there.
Mhm,
Or she was being
mhm.
abducted by this hooded man regularly. Um, it's just very interesting, to like, why did I have to go through that? And I went through it, and we moved back to another army base on the mainland here in the States, and I didn't experience that voice. "Don't
Mhm,
fall
mhm.
asleep, we're gonna get you."
So that went away. Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. And then, the other stuff that happened, where I felt like I had a family member that was living there, which I don't want to say a whole lot about, but I felt like as a child, like I understood what a walk-in was, and I felt like that person had a walk-in, or I didn't even know the term possession or anything, but I just knew something entered that person's body. However,
You
that
mean a new soul coming in or, just a are
a
you
being,
would you describe it
or
as a kind of possession or a soul
yeah,
coming in and
yeah.
the old soul leaving or possession? Yeah.
Possession or hijack or hack.
Mhm.
I mean, because that person completely changed and started being abusive. And I just don't I wonder if that was something to do with the military.
Could
Not for
even.
sure.
Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot of pieces and parts. Maybe you've written down all these like anomalous like fragments, and like as you if you write them down, you can begin to digest them into a coherent whole over time. You know, oh, I wonder about that thing. Oh, I wonder about that thing. Oh, I wonder about that thing too.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
It kinda
Yeah.
makes
So
you wonder.
yeah. Yeah. I just find that when we write things down, some things, our higher self can kind of start to come in and help us decipher the meaning behind it. I
Mhm.
don't know. That works for some people, if that's helpful to you or anybody in the audience. Just sort of like write down the bullet points. And oh, look at that. When you write it down on the page, there's something coming into form. You
I
know,
know, it's almost like it imprints into your field when you write anything down too. That's how I always tell everybody, write stuff down because it really does, like, imprint into your field more, into your
yeah.
field where you're projecting your reality, and you can go deep on that, like, talking about all that, like, that I know we only have a short time to talk, and I know you could talk about this, like, you can go on and on,
I
like,
know these are such big, big themes. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I think you're
And
right about this, and so, do you feel your experiences have been a part of your larger soul or an oversoul agreement or something
100%,
humanity.
1000%,
Yeah,
Eva. Yeah, 1,000,000%, of course. Yes, I absolutely believe that's true. Especially because, I work in the Akashic Records, and what are we always looking at? The journey of the soul in this incarnation and over lifetimes. I
yes.
absolutely came in with a soul mission to experience these things. And I'm glad you brought that up because it can to an audience, it can feel like, oh no, she was victimized by all these horrible things. And in a conventional sense, that's very true. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, there was agreement to come in and explore the depths of all this too. So, and I've said this before, you probably heard me say this, so that I could be part of its undoing. This dark, web of disgrace that's really tainted humanity for a long time.
Mm.
let's rewrite that script and move into our ascension pathway and into our hearts and into a more coherent expression and iteration of our humanity at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't believe that that is any weakness to be in that coherence. So some people do, oh, peace. I feel like peace comes within yourself within your own coherence of everything. And some people I've heard that they kind of don't like that idea. They don't want no, we're warriors, we must fight. So there's that too. Like I understand that we have to be a warrior here to be here in a sense, but we also have to remain in that heart based coherence,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
that
certainly
is,
that's one of my yeah, like my North Star, I guess I would say. Yeah.
I do feel like, and a lot of people don't know what an oversoul is. How could you describe what an oversoul is?
Ooh, yeah, we get into I want to say a little bit the limits of human language, right? To discuss these topics that are not so linear in nature. Oversoul, I mean, we can talk about the nature of the soul, yes, but then I feel like it's how would I say in linear terms, maybe a step between source and our soul and us. It's all part of source, but it's a um, I don't know, a higher the oversoul connects to the eternal essence of the soul, communicating directly with creation. And there will be different groups who come in with different oversoul signatures or something like this. And this would be like a direct communication line back to the infinite, to the creator within. Each soul takes up its own identification, like a signature of identity.
Yes.
But it can always go back to the oversoul to gather new information and to be redeemed in times of distress.
Oh,
So yeah, it's just
mm,
all of these different layers going up is how I'm showing it psychically is going back up into our source connection. And interestingly, this also a tie into the navel point in humans as well. Um anyway, there we went off into a little bit of a channel. But
love that. I love that. I got chills all over. I felt spirit move through my whole entire being of essence just then. I love the light language. I love that, which I feel like it can, I don't know how it does, but it expands our auric field somehow.
yes, isn't it so
It's
interesting?
like,
So it was yes, it does. And why people sometimes say if they haven't heard that before, like, "What language are you speaking?" And I say, "Well, it's the language of my I would call it my galactic aspect, bringing in higher information." When I'm reading for people and I read for you, it's like it keeps my vibration in a higher place so I can downstep very clear information for a client, for myself, for anything that's going on. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's amazing that you just did that and you kind of just went with it naturally. I see. I feel like you've talked a lot about healing and your process. How did healing look like for you after your experiences, and how do you feel like the power of having a group actually helps with healing? Do you feel like that's a big aspect of, coming together, finding your tribe, healing step by step, baby step by baby step,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not just us, but a collective, an oversoul
Yeah,
collective.
there's some juicy threads inside of that. So I always say now these days, really, and I've recognized this on my own path, like my healing and your healing are not just for us, for the planet. So what we do personally is also planetary. And I think that's an important takeaway for all this because I sometimes hear people saying, well, I don't have time to work with myself. I want to, save other people or I want to sort of bypassing our own journey, but that's actually where unity arises for the challenges of this world and its struggles is when we are working with ourselves first and foremost. And then naturally we help others because our vibration shifts and that becomes part of the script of our lives naturally, easily. Collective healing now, and you speak to, what is the power of the group? Well, I mean, I do group sessions, right? Like, and whenever I'm channeling a healing session for a group, it's a lot of bandwidth coming through. So there's something we are aided and assisted. When I was speaking the light language and channeling just there, you said, "Oh wow, this big field came through." It there's some amplification of, I want to say, higher help that surrounds us when we're working in groups. That's my observation of it. like we're supported when we come together. So it's amplified more. If we have 10 people in a group, it's more than 10 strands of healing. Somehow it's exponentially expanded into a higher frequency that I don't quite understand. But there's something to the power group healing for sure. On my own journey, healing is a work in progress. And
Mhm.
it's definitely, I've come so far. One of the things from my own healing, God, there's so many places to go. Working with the inner child, working with parents from a past life, mother and father from my lifetime with the crow people. That was extraordinarily beneficial in my early life, or excuse me, the early days of my healing path. You know, back when I started meditating over 10 years ago. Meditation itself has been very healing. I worked with somatic experiencing, which is a healing modality that you work with a therapist, and it allows the trauma that's been written and stored in the body to finally release, and it helps restore the nervous system to its natural state rather than being in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode. And that sympathetic arousal state, we can move into the parasympathetic rest state more and more. So, and of course, all the beings that I've worked with, all of the dimensional frequencies that I have contact with, and all of the multidimensional planes have been extraordinarily healing. Simple practices like journaling have been very helpful to me over time, and speaking publicly to my
Yeah.
story. For me personally, that's been part of my healing. Is that path for everyone? No, but it has been for me to give
Yeah.
voice to these things, and it seemed like at a very high cost. You know, when I first started coming forward publicly with my SSP experiences and all of that, things that happened at Montauk and so on, thought for sure, I was very frightened, but in a way, I knew I just had to do that. Things that have been trapped in silence, like a wound that is not exposed to light and air, they stagnate, they abscess. And what are we trying to do here? We want to heal the planet. We need to
Mhm.
talk about it. So for me, that has been a big part of my medicine is being able to speak to all of this um in tender and heartfelt way, but also forthrightly.
Do you know anything about the Law of One? Yeah.
Oh, yes, the raw material.
Yeah. For some reason,
Mhm.
I've been really just mourning David Wilcock's death. Like it's really bothered me. It's really
Yeah.
just and, so I'm surrounding myself with, the David Wilcock books that I have, and I wanted
Uh,
to ask spirit to come through, and I turned to a little insert about light, and you just mentioned something about light, and light is alive, and it's, with the Law of One, there's an insert, it's 41.9 on the Law of One, it says, "The simplest manifest being is light." Or what you have called the photon. So the photon is not just a particle, it's a being, an actual being. So I thought that was very interesting that I turned to that and you just mentioned the light.
yeah. Every time I read through any excerpts from Raw and the raw material, Law of One, it's like I can feel my crown, just like it blows over. I must say. So as you're reading that, I can really feel this like whew, swooping in of, yeah, it's elevating for sure. So no wonder you gravitated to that as we are mourning David's passage. Yeah. So photon, I think you just said that photon is a being. Is that right? Like
Being,
it's a
being, it's actual
mhm,
being. It's alive. So light is alive. That's the title of what I turned to. Light is alive. Because
absolutely.
like rocks are alive too. Stones, crystals, they're
It's
alive.
all
People
alive.
don't. They
It
are.
is, and we can communicate with it. It's conscious. It's all conscious. Everything, and yes, absolutely. And that's a game changer when we incorporate that into our understanding of how this world operates. And the material matter is all begotten through the genesis of light. It's all frequency, vibration, and sound before it becomes material matter. That's my understanding, what I've been given psychically, and how I understand my own experience as a light being embodied as form. In a lot of my sessions, whether in readings or healing sessions or whatever it may be, one on one with a client or in groups, it's always about coming lately, particularly, it seems like there's so much coming through around remember your light body, remember your light, embody that. We sometimes, it's for most of us, we run around and, incarnate in the flesh and blood aspect, the 3D aspect, which we need to inhabit this form realm. Yes, it's very advantageous. But at the same time, we can forget that we are this ebullience, this effulgence of higher vibration, and to see that structure within us, which is built of light, to embody that, to spend time in meditation, connecting with that, actually can help our physical health, our mental and emotional well-being, our spiritual advancement, and help the collective too, because we're remembering not only who we are now, but who we have always been. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I truly believe that. I think that we are at a pivotal spot in humanity. I do feel like there are something to do with our timelines that are
Mhm.
shifting. I mean, I don't know if it's something that's happening every second or millisecond, or if it's just you wake up the next day and you just feel like hey, it feels different today. Like, what is it? Sometimes it does feel like overnight, or you wake up and you wake up to a different on a different timeline. So I just feel
Mhm,
like that's
mhm.
very interesting. And a lot of people are talking about timelines splitting, timelines merging, there being a shift in all of humanity and I do feel like with um open when open contact is happening at the same time as open AI, and those two go hand in hand.
AI, oh my gosh, the whole AI, that's a big rabbit hole, isn't it? Yeah. What was the first thing you juxtaposed? Was it
Just
open
how
open
open
conscious?
contact and open AI. Like, it's very to
Okay.
me, it's weird how they used they the narrative, um, is a programming type thing. If you notice little things like that, "Oh, we're preparing for open contact. We're preparing for open AI." Like, what? I don't
Yeah,
know. I
like,
just
why are those 2 things running in tandem? That's a little
yeah.
questionable. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
it all has to do with AI and technologies, and
Mhm.
where we are collectively as a human collective consciousness, like, to be able to, become a part of the space, um, galactic force. But I'm still learning all this. I don't I'm trying to understand, like, where are we here as a collective? What do you think? Like, collectively, are we moving together, um, collectively? Or I do sense that, um, you know, we're all kind of doing our own, like, some of us are really focused in on this for some reason. It's probably because of it's our mission too, with the planet and the beings and the interdimensional, but, other people just they're still kind of not even thinking about this at all, and they don't care.
Mm.
They're saying, "What does that have to do with God?" I had one of my friends just talking to, people, and I'm talking about this stuff, and then she stopped me in my tracks. She said, "But I just wanna ask you, what does that have to do with God?" Okay,
You mean that it was confronting to a Christian framework, or I'm not sure I understand. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, a Christian framework of also this person didn't know what Christ consciousness was when I said that term, Christ consciousness. What is Christ consciousness? Like, the church, Sunday churchgoer didn't know what Christ consciousness was.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's laughable in a way, but then I'm like, we're all at our different paces here, but I feel like is it important that we move collectively into an understanding of this, do you feel like?
It's important to move on the next step down the next step of our own individual journey, whatever that may be. We never know what, like your friend, where might she be 5 years from now? It's important for us to work in the ways that we are with our own journeys. And I do see that there is a massive upwelling of shift on the planet, regardless of, all the others who are still sleeping. But the thing is, when we awaken, as we heal, as we embrace the hard path and come to understand that we are more than just this bodysuit, something massive is changing. Even if you might say it's only a small population of the planet that's doing that, but the emphasis or the largesse of the energy that emits from us as we're doing that is massive, cannot be overestimated, or excuse me, underestimated even. There's just so much there when we embrace the path that we're speaking of, and I would say, like, coming home to ourselves. So, and there's also a rightness, I would say, to how the energies are moving now. People's generally speaking, so many new things are coming into uh, more public awareness. So little blips of, even 10 years ago, we were talking about UAPs and government, or, not particularly. So there's a shift in that. And what are the Epstein files bringing up? Or there's just a sense of psychically too. There's just more of an openness and readiness, like the population is being primed in some way so that there is more acceptance to, or curiosity maybe, about these themes.
Mhm.
But both light and darker strands of that, like, oh, what is AI actually about? Or, oh, what about um, beings who are not terrestrial? Or what about the trafficking of children that's been going on forever? There's more of there's more an awareness of these things, whether or not people are paying attention. There's a subtle kind of shift in that direction. That's what I observe,
Yeah.
and more
Yeah.
people being quietly being influenced by the energy of of us who are kind of like moving toward our light, so to say, and embodying that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So true.
I know I
And,
mean, there's many different opinions about that. People who say the world is a wreck and we're never going to get anywhere, and this is just a,
yeah.
waste of time here. I know
Yeah.
that that's a one popular, way of looking at things, but that's not
Mhm.
particularly what I see. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of different, merging of timelines, or we're all creating our own reality.
Yeah.
Based, go back to the raw material, what is it? Our thoughts and our beliefs and our feelings, our intention creates reality, creates reality. So what are you
Right.
and I intending?
Yeah.
And we're aligned with ourselves, and particularly the heart frequency, our creations are unparalleled. So
Yeah.
it's a lot to that. They hold
Yeah.
a lot of frequency of goodness that emanates from that cannot be contained. And that can, even in small numbers, cause a planetary shift.
Yes,
So,
I believe that. Yeah, that
yeah.
is our planet. We're planted where we are to be like a node in the grid,
Mhm.
to anchor these certain frequencies.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I know that you are, and I feel that too. And with
Yeah.
other people doing this type work,
Mhm. Yeah.
you have to experience horrible stuff to honestly to kind of get here. I guess I don't really even know if we have to experience all that horrible stuff. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I still won't ever understand why things happen, how they have. Is if we're creating our own experiences, like why do we
Mhm.
create abuse and stuff like that? Like,
Mhm. Well, and so I would say if we go back to the notion of being like fractals of source and, the nature of the soul. Now, when I read the Akashic record, sometimes what comes through about that person's or that soul's plan in the incarnation isn't necessarily aligned with the more 3D aspect of that person. Like I, as Rebecca, or you, as Ava, might say, no, I didn't sign up for this. But we can come in to incarnate on this very polarized realm of duality where we have a lot of light and dark, these deep contrasts. We might come from a higher plane of reality where this doesn't exist and we don't have access to these experiences, just to explore the banquet, just to explore the menu, just to explore, wow, what is that flavor like? Oh, what is that flavor like? Because there is such a breadth and depth of experience that you can have on this planet is really remarkable. So I think
interesting.
and it doesn't make sense to our conventional mind. Why would you come in and experience darkness?
Yeah.
Sometimes, when I look back at my life in human terms, it's like, yeah, but those deepest, darkest experience also gave me a lot of my lessons
Yeah.
and helped me become who I am. And that's not to advocate for, yeah, you know, the tragedies you suffered have just been part of what you needed to wake up. But sometimes we do tie a Gordian knot in the tapestry of our lifetime as a way of unlocking certain gates within us.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
sometimes the nature of our path is that we can't wake up to it any other way. So I've found at this point, I'm in my 50s, like there's always medicine inside whatever's happening, but we have to pause and sit with it to find that. There's always a teacher and a teaching and a lesson. And again, not to make light of people's suffering or their tragedies, but to say there's something else going on and we can look deeper in and start to integrate whatever has happened for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what about light language? Um, I love that you're speaking light language. This is something I've always been tapped into as a child. I didn't call it light language. I was just talking. And some people call it gibberish, but
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
actually a light language, and a lot of people are, they're interested in it, and it feels mysterious to them. How did this first activate in you?
It's a
Like,
great question. Back when that happened, we had that transmission a little bit ago. Yes, I should speak to that. No, I had no idea what is light language or speaking in tongues or, receiving this information in a way that bypasses the conceptual human mind.
mhm,
I was in meditation back in, light language began for me when I'd be meditating late at night. And I would start to nod off before bed when I was, in my sitting posture and quite sleepy. And I would start, and as we start drifting away, the lockdown of our conscious mind sort of abates and softens. So something unusual like that can begin to come through. And that's what was happening. I would kind of catch myself and go, what was that coming on my voice? That was strange. And then one night I woke up, this was probably 12 years ago. I woke up the middle of the night, and all these channeled angelic tones were coming out of my voice. There was a host of beings in the room. All the light language was pouring through. Da 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 da. So it just kind of happened naturally as an outgrowth of my own, the early days of my spiritual awakening, if you might. Yeah, we could call it that. I would say. So it was astonishing to me, and I was very embarrassed when it would start just come. It kind of just runs like a faucet. I mean, it
mhm.
like it doesn't stop. You just keep going. And I was a little, chagrined that it was coming out in client sessions, but I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 that's what it's supposed to be." So yet another way in which I had to push my comfort zone and, like, kinda get over my own ideas about things and just let it rip. So,
Yeah, it is actual
yeah.
light, and it can move through the energetic fields of the body. That's what I feel
Mhm.
like it's doing,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's doing something. It is creating a shift. I can feel it. I
That's
always feel it. I
exactly what
always
it's doing, and to the point I think I said though, it bypasses the human mind. We're so in lockdown in our
yeah.
analytical concepts, and we cannot get
Mhm,
out of them. And it's more pronounced than it's ever been. We're up in
mhm.
here, and so light language allows us to have communication with a higher essence that bypasses that thinking mind and directly connects with the heart, the higher self, and the energy field. So that's
Do you
powerful
feel like
medicine that we really need right now. Yeah, go ahead.
is everybody, like, tapped into the light language? I know personally, because this is, like, years ago, I've been into the light language, and it just comes natural for me. It's like, almost like, you can call it talking in tongues, but it's, integrating that into the healing aspects of it, and then I was have I'd have I call them, like, play woo-woo play parties, and I'd invite some of my metaphysical friends, and we would have, like, a group or whatever, and some people just didn't they couldn't unlock their light language, which I felt like it just came so naturally. What do you think how could somebody unlock their light language?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know people ask me that, and it is. I think it's predicated on partially on embarking on a spiritual journey and a kind of openness to these things. But for some people, it seems to come easy, and some people it just doesn't open up. So I don't know if I've arrived at one definitive answer to that question. And it may be part of how our highest aspects are working with the source fields and the multiverse and these things. I mean, it's sort of beyond just looking at the superficial expression of whoever the UI or somebody else. There's a lot going on that might set the stage for receiving language or not. Yeah. So
Well, can you take a moment and just speak a little, like pull through some light language, and can I bounce back? Can we can have a little
yeah, so
play like session bouncing back and
yeah.
forth?
Just remember to love yourself as you move forward. This will change the entire script of humanity. So for you, Eva.
Anybody that watches this will receive through this very message now. And so it is, as I know the logos are within my tongue. Receive now. Thank
Mm,
you. To me,
mm,
it's just so it's I feel like it's natural. It's like something inside of my DNA. I know this. I feel
Mm,
it.
mhm. Yeah,
And I feel that
yeah.
head tingly. Ooh.
Yes, and you brought something up just there that I feel like different star families, star incarnations, through different star systems and our families connected to that and that aspect of our DNA, like different groups might be waking up with like light language at different times. So there's also a sequential way of that being orchestrated or so. That's how what I'm hearing at the moment. Yeah.
And so you openly talk about your connections to Sirius, Andromeda, and the other star systems. Um, what what are these aspects of like your connect? I mean, what are your connections to this basically, and what do
Mhm.
you feel like star seeds are?
Yeah, you've got a lot of big questions today for me. They're fun. I feel like I'm just like scratching the surface. So sometimes people come to me in session and they say, "Where am I really from? And who are my star family?" But what I notice, and this isn't always so palatable to people because in human 3D terms, we want like one thing. It's this or it's this, not it's both and it's and both and. I
Mhm,
find that we come from many places and it can be not always easy to just pin down one place. If you think about us being an
mhm.
eternal being, we can't really limit our experience. Oh, I come from Lyra. I mean, then that may be true. I'm not saying that's false, but there could
Yeah,
also be other influences
I
in
agree.
the soul's code, in the soul's journey, and in all of the meandering over lifetimes and different iterations and incarnations and experiences. All over the place. Um, when I say I'm connected to XYZ, it's like I've had direct experience and direct contact with family members from there. Or yes, I would say that's accurately stated. Yeah, have had very direct contact with those beings who I am very familiar with and who know me. I know them. If we want to go very far out, I would also say that I incarnated from a Syrian lightship, and I still have contact in real time with that ship, its crew, and my galactic essence that is up there in a kind of pod in stasis. Yeah, no, might lose some people in your audience. I don't know, because that sounds
No,
pretty radical. But that's my experience of myself. So the Syrian
yeah.
lightship, and part of the deeper journey in my soul, I think, was coming in from that reality and that expression of creation to this one to help raise the frequency or the vibration, as we say on the planet, by
Mhm,
experiencing what I did and getting a lot of information about all of that. At the time that I incarnated back in the 70s, the galactic slave trade was booming. And we on that Syrian ship and within the consortium of what I could just call the Light Alliance, it's part of the Galactic Confederation. Um, Wanted to know exactly what was going on within the depths of that and the bowels of that, how the Draco involved, how are the regressive ETs um, operating that slave trade. And so part of my mission incarnating here was to make discoveries about that. What better way than to do it kind of boots on the ground, so to speak. Yeah. That
so
was a little bit of a rabbit hole that we just went
y
into. Yeah.
no, it is, a simple and a very, very complex understanding of reality and consciousness, and, you know, we're all learning here, and, having the boots on the ground, what that means. Um, for some reason, I keep going back in this. I had a memory one time, and this was about 2 years ago. Um, I had seen a UFO. I was on my way back from a hospital in Valdosta, Georgia, um, and Moody Air Force Base is over there. And I was on the back roads. I didn't realize it, but I was beside Moody Air Force Base. And I look up and I see two of UFOs. So I pull over to take a video. Well, the minute I pull over, some random car pulls up. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Pulls up. The guy runs out in a suit, hands me a little because I had a Jeep, hands me a little duck and says, "You've been ducked." Didn't even just and smiles, gets in his car, runs off. I'm like, that was so weird, so random. But he gave me a duck. He said, "You've been ducked." Well, that night I had an experience where an orb came into my room, like a white one. Poof, I heard a flash and there's static everywhere. People talk about that with experiencers. Static everywhere and there was a red hue. And hold on, my this happens to me sometimes. My mind gets scrambled and like, they don't want me to talk. What was that I said? There was something I wanted to bring you. I keep hearing it. Gosh, what was it? It was about ET.
You were
Oh,
talking about seeing craft and somebody handing you a duck.
I'm telling you, sometimes I may. But there was something we were talking just before this that I wanted to ask you. I kept hearing to ask you.
Mm.
God, what was
Mhm.
it? Anyway, these experiences, they're interesting. And oh, the boots on the ground. Yeah. So okay, so that happened at night. Well, that day, I'm taking a nap and I wake up and I can subtly see military boots on the ground, but I'm half asleep, half awake. And then I'm like, huh. I'm so sleepy at that point. You just go to sleep and you wake up and I'm like, that was weird. I had a glimpse of military boots just then. That was really weird. I don't know
Mhm.
if that's just subconscious stuff or what is that all about? I don't
You
know.
have a story that's surfacing right now, and you are launching the podcast that's helping you come deeper into it, connecting the dots. And I feel like it might be relevant indeed to write all of these things out, the little pieces that create the whole. If you haven't done that, yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah.
random. I don't think it's random. Yeah.
But, like, I wonder if anybody else out there has experienced that where you're waking up and you're meditating or you fall asleep during a nap and you're half asleep, half awake, you're seeing the, like, military, and then
Yes, absolutely. See, lots of because I've out with my own SSP story, my abduction, my MyLab stuff. I see clients with similar issues and similar experiences, and this is not uncommon. So just to reflect that back to you, if that's of any
okay.
comfort.
Like, just wanna ask you too, the intuitively, if I can, whenever I was a child, after we moved back off the military base, we moved to this little town where I'm at now, which is not by any military. I was getting these like shocks to my brain pretty regular. The way I would tell my dad, which at that point my mother had left, my dad, I would tell him, "Hey, I'm feeling these." I would tell him that like a blood vessel popped or some kind of like shock feeling on my brain. He brushed it off, but this adult person, me, looking back, if my child was telling me that, I would totally take them to the doctor and believe them. But I was never taken to the doctor, and also he brushed it off. And then later on, he's like, "Yeah, you would space out sometimes. You just space out." And I'm like, "Well, I was feeling shocks to my brain." Like, what do you think that was? Like, was that something that, I mean, is it,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't
yeah.
know. I wonder that. I wonder, like, what was
And that was
that?
when you said you were little. How old were you? You were 4 or 5.
That happened through, I was probably about 10 the last
You
time it
were okay.
happened.
Oh,
And I do get
yeah,
migraines, and I've always got migraines, but
yeah, yeah.
that quit happening.
Well, I think
I
you
don't
know
know.
the answer. That that's an external force
I feel
tampering
like
with
it
you. Yeah.
something to do with, like, implant or something like that. I know. Oh, that brings me to the experience I had whenever I reached out to you, for the session that we had and the experience where I felt like something popped out of my ear that night
Yeah.
afterwards. It was so
Yeah.
impactful. Like, I never in my life experienced something like that. Whatever it was, I was connected with your energy
Mhm.
or
Yeah,
our
you said
energy.
that, and so yeah, yeah, yeah.
It almost like it completely went through my brain and popped, and then my ear bled a little bit and goo came out, and that never happened before,
Mhm. Do
and
you
that
feel
was
like that might have been like a implant releasing itself?
yeah, I think so, maybe like an etheric one. I don't know if
Mm.
it's a real one or physical one
Yeah,
because I think
they come in both forms. They can be etheric or they can be physical.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Did you feel how did you feel after that, I guess I would say? Yeah.
I felt good. I felt like, something like I
Yeah.
felt amazing. I went to work, into the because I work in the ICU at the hospital too, and I went there and I was telling one of my friends that I work with, I said, "This amazing experience happened." She said, "Well, you did that. Your consciousness did that." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, because we are all of it. We are connected to it all." But I feel like somehow
Mhm.
something. It felt like it was something outside of me because it went through my
Mhm.
brain and helped pop whatever. It was almost like my guys came in. They said, "We're here," and I was like, "Okay." And they said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yes." And I just felt this whoosh right through my brain, and my ear just like popped
Yeah.
and good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't have an
I
ear infection.
No, I know, and I know, and it's easy for the mind to kinda go, "Okay, what the fuck was that?" Excuse my language, but yeah, and we can kinda go, "Okay, how could this have just" we just try and rationalize it, and we can kinda go, was that this or was this this?" And, if if you allow yourself maybe the light language to come through,
Mhm,
that can also act as a sort of grounding, for whatever is true that needs to be clarified. Looking at it, feeling it in your heart, and allowing the light language to take you through that gateway of truth to discern what really happened and put the pieces of your puzzle together, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot here. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
yeah.
And that you said that happened the night you had a session with me, and then that happened that night, I think. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. It happened that night, and I messaged you. I said, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what you did." Yeah,
So
something happened.
and then something happened to you. We'd kind of set this up, and then something happened
Yeah,
to
same
you.
similar, the other ear, same thing. Like, we set this up, it's almost like my guides or either it's yours coming in to make sure it's okay, things are checks and balances, click, click, and then it, like, went through it's like it felt like a burst of air going through my brain from this side this time to this ear, and this ear popped, and I had just a little gush of blood, and I woke up. Well, also, that when that happened, JP, you know JP, he had posted, said, "Oh, funny, he woke up and his nose was bleeding." And I don't remember what episode or what day specifically it was, but I just thought that was weird. I said, I woke up, my ear had been bleeding, and then he woke up and his nose was bleeding.
Well,
Mm,
yeah. So
Interesting.
oh, sometimes things are synergized across the quantum field. Oftentimes, always things are synergized across the quantum field. So that's interesting. Yeah. Um, yeah,
So
I'm getting to the end of time here that I
yeah, I
have
was
for today.
wondering that. I'm like,
Um,
what time are we? So you offer the quantum healing sessions. There's one last question for your quantum healing sessions. How does that look like for a client if they wanted to come with you to you to have some kind of session or something? I know you have an amazing website that explains a whole lot. Um,
Yeah, well, so it all happens remotely, so we can meet on Zoom. I don't actually work with the camera on. I read better and do my best work with the camera off, just because I'm looking through the eternal planes rather than the external. But we can do it all on Zoom, and it's recorded. It's all happening again through the gateway, the quantum field, and the infinite. So we are all energy, and that transmits beyond space and time. So a lot of movement goes on in those quantum healing sessions for my clients, and it's all powerful work. I think it took me a while to actually understand how powerful indeed all of that work has been for me and for others over time. Um, yeah, so just a word. I do work in person with people when I can. I've started traveling to others to do concentrated, consolidated work with one-on-one clients in their homes, and also having people here to my place in Alaska for that. But mostly it goes on through the internet. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know you just answered a lot of stuff. I wanted to end with something powerful. Can you share a message, whether from you or whatever you want to channel for the audience right now? Just something very powerful, something that
Yeah.
you need to share.
Let's just see what's coming. I will go back. The light language has been a thread, so just let me see what's coming through. Oh, it's a land message. So, okay. So after you listen to this transmission between Ava and Rebecca, go place your hands and feet on the earth. Reach down into the ground. You will help to activate the crystalline grid of the planet. Ooh, and help liberate humanity. So I think it's anchoring some of the higher frequencies that have been passing through in the information
Feel it.
stream, which is beyond the spoken word. So you will have heard, the audience will have heard our spoken interchange in English, but there's also another transmission that's going on for you. And so anchor that by going out to wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you live in the city, go out in the back alley, touch the gravel, with your feet, but it's an act of reverence and it's a gesture of supplication. And it helps this planet hold us as we hold the planet into its higher expression for both.
Yeah.
We are wed like a mother and child, as we know, to the planetary field. And so it is doing something favorable for us at that level. And I'm also transmitting a lot of higher energy from up here in the pristine realm of interior Alaska. I hope maybe some of you can feel that. There's a lot of Sasquatch energy up here. The Nagas are with me, and higher spiritual intelligence has been anchored through this place from which I am broadcasting. So we are all doing that in some form. Yeah, I'm just giving thanks to your
Rebecca.
audience and people have journeyed through our time together. Thank you so much, Ava.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. And I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and giving us your perspective on awakening and on what's going on right now.
There's
Um,
so much to it too. I know with an hour we don't really have time to dig deeply into topics,
yeah,
but hopefully it's given your audience something to take home and
we're just getting this.
be inspired by. Yeah. And I want to say too, I have I'm doing group healing sessions through my YouTube membership feature. So if you want to come at a very reduced rate, not having to pay for one-on-one with me, you can always do that. Check out my YouTube channel, Sirius Blue, and you'll find that join option there with ongoing participation for my audience, ongoing mentorship through the group format. Yeah.
And I will connect Rebecca's website below. This is Starseed Essence Media. And remember, you're not just the universe, you are the universe remembering itself. Thank you for watching.
Beautiful,
and
Ava.
subscribe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
All right.
All right, I guess I hit there. Stop. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. It was great to chat with you about all these things. Yeah.
You
So
too.
much
And
here.
I'm trying to figure out the Zoom thing because it popped for some reason. It popped to my other thing. I'm like, oh, I have too many. I have two Zoom. Okay, I had two Zooms open. I'm like, okay. So we'll
Did
see
you
if
and did you record it to the cloud or did you record it to your computer?
I think I recorded it to the cloud. I'm gonna
Okay.
do stop
So if
recording.
it will probably come to my end and I'll just forward it to you, the link, so you can do what you
Yeah,
need to do with it.
that'll work. Because I also
Yeah.
did it through Riverside without it like showing, like it's
Oh,
not.
you had the
It has
audio.
your audio,
Yeah.
but not your face. So we'll see how that came out. I don't know.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good. All
All
right.
right.